Oliver, a professional photographer in New York, always hunted for vintage gear. At a dusty estate sale, he found an old 1940s Leica camera that felt unusually heavy. The seller, an old woman with milky eyes, refused to take his money, simply whispering, "Once you see them, they see you too." Oliver laughed it off, thinking he'd just found the deal of a lifetime, unaware that the camera didn't capture light. It captured souls. Back in his darkroom, Oliver developed the first roll of film he took in Central Park. As the images appeared in the chemical bath, his heart skipped a beat. In every single photo, regardless of where he pointed the lens, a tall, blurred figure stood in the background. It had no face, just a dark void where features should be, and it seemed to be getting closer to the camera with every frame he developed. That night, Oliver felt a cold breeze in his airtight apartment. He took a candid photo of his empty living room to test the flash. When the digital preview popped up, the figure was there, sitting on his sofa, its long, spindly fingers resting on his favorite book. He looked at the sofa with his bare eyes, and it was empty. The camera was revealing a layer of reality that his human eyes were never meant to perceive. The camera began to act on its own. Every hour, on the hour, the shutter would click by itself. Oliver tried to take the batteries out, but the mechanical camera didn't use any. It was powered by something else. Each automatic photo showed the figure moving from the living room to the hallway and finally to the very door of his bedroom, its shadow stretching across the floorboards like spilled ink. Oliver decided to record a video on his phone while looking through the old camera's viewfinder. On the phone screen, the room was normal, but through the Leica's lens, the walls were dripping with black bile. He heard a static-filled whisper coming from the camera's internal gears. "Focus on me, Oliver. Give me your focus." The voice sounded like 1,000 dead leaves crushing together. He ran to the bathroom to splash cold water on his face, but when he looked in the mirror, his reflection was gone. He looked through the camera lens at the mirror, and there he was, but his reflection was being held by the faceless man. The entity was slowly stitching its shadow onto Oliver's reflection, claiming his image piece by piece until there was nothing left of the real him. Desperate, Oliver tried to smash the camera with a hammer, but the metal was harder than steel. The hammer shattered, and the camera didn't even have a scratch. Instead, the camera let out a high-pitched mechanical scream that shattered every window in his apartment. He realized then that he wasn't the photographer anymore. He was the subject of a much darker artist. His apartment began to transform into a giant darkroom. The walls turned into hanging strips of wet film negatives. Each negative showed a different moment of Oliver's life, but in every memory, his graduation, his first date, his childhood birthday, the faceless man was there in the background, lurking in the shadows, waiting for this very moment to arrive. Suddenly, the camera's flash began to strobe uncontrollably. Flash, flash, flash. With every burst of light, the room changed. In one flash, the furniture was gone. In the next, the ceiling was replaced by a swirling black vortex. And in the third, the faceless man was standing inches from Oliver's nose, the smell of ozone and ancient dust filling his lungs. The gravity in the apartment shifted, and Oliver felt himself being pulled toward the lens of the camera. It felt like his entire body was being compressed into a single point of light. The world around him turned into a negative. The sky turned white, the trees turned gray, and his own skin turned a terrifying shade of translucent blue. Oliver found himself inside a vast, infinite hallway filled with millions of photographs. Each photo contained a person, frozen in a state of mid-scream. They were all previous owners of the camera. Their eyes followed him as he floated past, their mouths moving silently as if trying to warn him of the fate that was about to befall him. The faceless man appeared at the end of the hallway, holding a giant version of the Leica camera. "Smile for the eternity," the entity boomed, its voice vibrating through Oliver's bones. The giant lens began to glow with a malevolent purple light, and the sound of the shutter winding up sounded like a guillotine being prepared for a final execution. As the entity prepared to take the final shot, Oliver felt his memories being sucked out of his brain. He forgot his name, his face, and the feeling of the sun on his skin. He was becoming a blank canvas, a hollow shell ready to be filled with the darkness of the camera's void. He realized that the camera didn't just take photos, it replaced reality with them. Oliver made one last effort to resist. He closed his eyes and tried to visualize the brightest light he could imagine. But the camera was faster. The shutter clicked one last time, a sound so loud it felt like the universe was snapping in half. The flash visible behind the glass of the lens.